right, welcome back to Off the Tap. This week is episode 100, and we're doing the Kolsch from Alstadt Brewery.
Look, nailed it. Also, dude, real quick, there's certain things when you're doing the initial, because we count in, everybody's aware, we've given them a peek behind the curtain. But
Yeah,
we count in and then we start, and you always just come out of the gate swinging with "Welcome back to." There's something you say, obviously, we just heard it, right? But then, and I always like, I'm not prepped for that because in my brain, this is what's happening. As soon as we do the countdown, something clicks into my brain that kind of takes me out of the zone for the while you're doing your thing. And today it was the theme song to Seinfeld.
that kind of checks out. It's that's kind of like the '90s or I guess the '80s kids version of like the monkey, the monkey hitting the cymbals in your brain.
Oh
You know what I'm
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about? Like when you check out, that's got to be what it's like. You know what I mean?
When you said that, I was taking a million different directions.
Just did not know where we were going with that one.
No, was not sure where we were going with that one.
Interesting.
Um, but all stats Kolsch.
Yeah, so it's just called Kolsch. But it felt weird to just say we're having Kolsch from Alstadt Brewery. So
That is
we're
true.
having the Kolsch from Alstadt Brewery. This is coming in at a 4.8% ABV with 20 IBUs. This is the second Altstat that we've had
I think
on the
I,
pod.
I I like the emphasis, but I think it's just pronounced Allstat.
Okay, well, it's not whenever there's a button on the keyboard that's Alt, okay?
Okay, so it's the premium German style beer, exceptionally smooth, refreshing, and balanced. It's born in Fredericksburg. We've done an Altstadt before. Oop, you heard it? I did
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, you did it. See?
We've done an Altstat before. Born in Fredericksburg, immersed in German history. It's made with pure Texas hill country water. I guess sticking it to the old Coors with their banquet beer.
Banquet
Um,
beer.
and German hops, malt, and yeast. So there's a damn book written on the side of this can that I'm gonna read here in a second. But dude, what's really fucking killer is that the cans are textured.
Oh,
Dude, yeah, like so that the can itself, I mean, obviously you're gonna do in the breakdown we'll do it, but they're like what do you call it? Not embossed? I don't know, is that a
embossed?
word?
Yeah.
Is that a word? Okay.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
word.
like they're yeah, so it's textured, like old English
Interesting.
textured. Yeah, it's pretty nifty.
I
I
like
didn't
that.
realize it until I obviously held the can. Um, but yeah, so obviously, there's a lot of promotion on there for the brewery itself. I think we've talked at links about how beautiful it is, and it kind of has to be based on the area that it's in. I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of has to be.
But it's a Cologne style beer made in Texas, comparable to the finest brews originating from the town of Cologne, Germany. Our Kolsch is a crisp, well balanced blend of select German malts with just a kiss of hops at the end. What did you say the IBU was?
20 IBUs.
Okay, yeah, so it's light. The result is a clean and refreshing, light golden colored beverage. Dude, they do themselves, at least for the sake of what we do, they do themselves a pretty big disservice by describing it so well on the can. Because
Yeah.
if you've noticed, it gives us a few little tidbits of things to be like, fuck, golden, you say.
Yeah.
I don't think so, bud.
I don't know
Crisp.
about that.
But anyways,
Maybe not enough.
Obviously, at Altstadt, they brew authentic German style beers in the heart of the Texas Hill Country. Traditional beers are handcrafted to the old world standards, inspired by the Reinheitsgebot. Who I think I said that
Ooh.
correctly. Reinheitsgebot. I hope I didn't just say something very inappropriate. German. It's the German beer purity laws. I'm sorry, established in 1516. We use natural imported ingredients and pure Texas Hill Country water to deliver the supreme drinkability and smooth, crisp flavor you expect from German style beers, only brewed right here in Fredericksburg.
What a novel. What a
Dude,
novel.
I know, bro. Like the font, thank God it's white on a red background. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gotten it. Hey, real quickly, I keep seeing a meme that's going around. As I said that, because obviously it's very sales pitchy. Have you seen the
Mhm.
meme of on the Truman Show when his wife is. Have you remember the Truman Show, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, there's one part in it where she's like, drink such and such coffee. Like
Oh
she's
yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so I've been seeing that lately, and I'm like, yeah, no wonder this dude caught on. Like, how fucking creepy was that
Yeah.
plug that she was?
I'm gonna make us community coffee. The way she like
Yeah.
turns to the screen. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Deep roasted with no natural preservatives, no added sugars. And he's
But
just
the
like,
crazy
what are
part is
you
that
doing?
wasn't even that isn't even what he got caught on with.
No, I know. Okay, so color wise, real quickly, I don't get a lot. Look, I'm not doubting you. Okay. I don't get a lot of golden. It is light. It's a little cloudy. You can't see it in the camera, but it's a little cloudy, like most, what do you call it? Most craft brews have a tendency to be.
Yeah.
So it's not super clear. From when I see clean, when I think clean and refreshing, I think clear. Um,
Oh.
yeah, I'm not getting that, but
I know I've had some Kolsch in my time. Um I my rating might be a little skewed on this because I've only had a few and I can't really even remember what they taste like. So I don't know what to judge it upon. You know what I'm
yeah, I don't.
saying?
I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't want anybody to get angry at us. At our millions of followers that give us comments. I
Yeah.
don't want any. I don't want anybody to get angry at me. But to me, the Kolsch is kind of like the less popular step sibling of a wheat.
I can see that
You know what I
actually.
mean? Or
Yeah.
Hefeweizen. You know what I mean?
A
It's just
Hefeweizen?
not as a Hefeweizen. Yeah, it's just not. It's like people. I don't know. I'm not a huge Kolsch guy, but yeah, I don't know. That's the
I
vibes that I
mean
get.
I've enjoyed them in the past. I do remember enjoying them, but I can't exactly remember what they taste like. I wanted to we've talked a lot about on the podcast how we like the consistent branding, right? We
Hmm.
like some good consistent branding, and Altstadt seems to do that.
They do.
Their lager was basically the same exact can, but it was just blue instead of red.
Was that one textured though, dude?
I
This
don't. Well,
texture
here
thing is gonna get me.
this I don't
Uh,
know because I can't feel the can.
yeah, I know, but I don't think I paid enough attention, or I don't remember it being. This one's like obviously fucking textured.
Like 3D.
Well, it's like high quality, like resume paper or
It's like
something. You know what I mean?
etched.
Like, yeah, like there's
Uh,
like you can tell it's on purpose. Like at first when I grabbed it, I was like, ah, damn it, somebody rolled this can across the ground. But then I was like, oh wait, it matches up with the way that it's
God,
colored.
this can's filthy. My hands are gonna be
Fucking,
looking like Walmart feet.
this is disgusting.
Yeah. But it brings me to my first point here of like looking at the lager, right? It was blue, and
Hmm.
I just remember thinking really nothing of it. And I don't know if that's just because blue is like synonymous with a bunch of beer in my head, you know what I mean? Like the
Yeah.
dark blue, the lighter blues, but for whatever reason the red on this can just feels so aggressive, which
I
honestly kind of I mean I don't want to I'm not trying to point fingers or anything, but it like fits that German vibe, you know what I mean? Because German
yeah.
language is so aggressive, and you look at this and you're like, yeah, that makes sense.
Or Russian, but for the
Oh
same
yeah.
reasons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely follows the very similar naming. The only thing they change, honestly, is just the colors of the can and the name.
The name, yeah, it's
Yeah,
it's incredibly similar,
yeah,
which I like I said I like,
yeah. The red is very aggressive, but why? And I kind of said that earlier. Like, thankfully, there's white writing on this. Just knock you in the face, aggressive red
yeah,
can. Another thing, the box, dude, fucking just straight
just
red.
but he's just got the box on deck right now.
Bro, you got to tote that sixer. Uh
German
huh.
beer made here.
Need here, baby.
Just getting a sixer.
Just getting a sixer. A little bit of homework. If you guys don't know where that phrase is from, then you should probably press stop right now and move on about your life.
Yeah.
But if you want to be smarter as a human being, Go check out a little film, I think from 1994, called Dazed and Confused, with the
Classic.
world's coolest cast, but also some of the worst acting you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah.
Just picking up this sixer. Also, that actor, which we didn't plan on covering this, but apparently, you know what I'm talking about?
Apparently.
I've never been on live television before. Anyway, but he grabs his nose and his face like all the time. He's just like constantly doing this because he doesn't know as a young actor what to do. Shout out to that guy. I'm pretty sure his career started and ended there. But
Oh
anyways, yeah,
no.
his claim to fame is going to pick up that sixer as a freshman, and he
Just
just
getting
sounds
a
so cool.
sixer.
Just getting a sixer. It's like the only fucking relevant line that he had. Like to be, listen, a good movie, but he was my least favorite character of the whole thing. And like I know he was kind of the main character, but just not cool.
It was okay. So here's the thing. It's been a long time since I've seen that movie.
Oh
This was
really?
the main character, and you think this is all he did?
Well, there's a couple of yeah, dude. Because there was dude, everybody was so early in their career, dude. It was the first Matthew McConaughey movie
I do.
ever.
I do know that. I do know that.
Um, bro, Ben Affleck was in it,
Yeah, that's weird.
but
That one
just
doesn't
as
even.
like as a one off. Yeah, there were some other folks that were in it that just never really like took off. Yeah, I think Renee Zellweger was in it, but like as an no, no, like she was like a very small part, but she was in it.
That's wild to
Like
me.
it's just weird, but yeah, the main character is the freshman, the incoming freshman kid. Um, I mean, there's like a bunch of like side stories, but he's kind of the main character, and just like the first time I saw it, he kind of irked me. I was like, this sucks a little bit. Like, and then afterward, okay, us put it this way. Let's put it this way. Okay, real quick. Okay, go ahead.
This guy
What?
sucks. This guy sucks.
Yeah, this guy. Yeah, it sucks, right? But the thing is because it was kind of like the redneck breakfast club. Is kind of what it was, really.
Mm,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
A little bit different. I mean, obviously a different concept, but like you look at the Breakfast Club and you're like, oh, these people were in the top of their careers when this was going down. You look
Oh,
at
top of the career, you think, for those people?
I mean, I mean, maybe Emilio Estevez's career got better. I don't who of
Uh,
that clan
but what did they do before though?
of the Brat Pack the same stuff,
Uh,
like all stereotypical teen coming of age romantic comedy films.
yeah. Okay.
You know, I mean, I don't know. Aside from who's the one that made it big with Iron Man?
Tony Stark?
Yeah,
You
but the
talking
the
about
actor.
Robert Downey Jr.?
Yeah, aside from Robert Downey Jr. and who's the Rob Lowe, they were pretty much that was all of the Brat Pack basically.
Really?
Yeah, Molly Ringwald,
Was
Michael
it?
C. Hall.
What?
Go
Who,
ahead.
was Robert Downey Jr. in Fast Times at Ridgemont High?
No, no,
Are you?
but he was in.
He wasn't like a random teen in that movie.
I don't think so. He was in
I
St. Elmo's Fire. That's really what set
mm,
them all off. But I'm pretty sure he wasn't in Fast Time at Ridgemont High.
maybe I'm thinking of something else, and I'm just combining those movies in my head. Anyways,
Yeah, sorry. Back
sorry to
to
throw you
Red.
off.
I
Yeah,
saw Red. I saw Red, and I just went for it.
we just kept going on that one. It is interesting to me
I think
because
all. Go ahead.
I think like previously when I see red, I think like sports car. I think fast. You know what I mean? At least that's how my brain has always seen it. But for whatever reason on this can, I was like, oh my god,
Yeah,
I feel like I'm being attacked right now.
it's deep. It's almost like I don't know what the version of Red is, but it's like to me it looks like a bucket of wet paint, a bucket of red wet paint, doesn't it?
A bucket of wet paint?
Yeah, this red is like a bucket of wet red paint.
Yeah, no, I do. I can see that. Yeah,
Thank God, because I
it's
wasn't gonna be able
dark.
to come back from that one.
No, it's dark. Well, parts of it at least. Yeah, it's dark. But you know that lead. I like it. It it sticks out. It's kind of what got my attention on it whenever we went to buy it.
Also, Alstadt, the red is their primary color.
Is it?
Yeah. So like if you look at like just Allstat, if you go to the homepage, dude, by the way, anyway, we're not even going to go down there, but just go to the web page, and like on the web page at the front, you'll see it's the deep red. Obviously, they
Yeah.
vary as the beers change, but yeah. So 20 IBUs
Yeah, 20 IBUs,
and
4.8%.
4.8. Yeah. I definitely don't taste the 4.8, but
No, not at all.
I think that the 20 makes sense. Was it last week we had one that was like a 30 something? It was a
Yeah,
little,
our last week's episode was a 30 IBU, and that one you could tell the difference.
yeah, in a
Um,
good way. So the big, the big 100. You had a topic that you wanted to talk about.
yeah, no, well, not really, because I don't really know much about it, but it's the centennial. I never thought we would get here. You know what I mean?
You mean just like in life in general, or you mean with this as a journey, like with off the tap as a journey?
With off the tap, I never expected to go triple digits, 100 episodes. When I first started this, it was just to get the boys together during COVID, um, to talk about some stuff, kind of BS during the week. Just give us an excuse to like kind of keep talking, and then that ended due to some scheduling conflicts and whatnot and some territory conflicts, and then we brought it back, and I can't believe we've gone 100 I've edited 100 episodes of this crap. You
Two,
know what I
two,
mean?
yeah, two comments to be made. Like you didn't think to yourself that you would be fucking up 100 intros. Like you knew you'd fuck up probably like a good run would be like 35, 40.
Yeah.
But to consistently fuck up 100, I mean, dude, that's a commitment. And it's consistency is what it is. It's consistency.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I guess I've
that's the
messed them all up. Yeah, that's true.
that's the first comment. Number two is let's take a step back on that. Like, so obviously it was to get so because obviously I came around. I guess if we're gonna say season two, right,
Yeah.
give or take, maybe whatever. Um, the second iteration, the revival, if you will. But
It was the revival.
so the plan was, hey, we've got maybe a little extra time on our hands. We're locked down. Like, let's get the boys together. So when did it start? I don't know. You didn't prepare for these questions, but it started at the height of COVID, before COVID, after COVID. Like, where were you? Where were you guys at?
I
Good
think I think we
Lord,
were
I'm about to have to go adjust my fizz score. But go ahead.
I think we were a few months into COVID, but I had had the idea for a long time. I'd had the
But
idea for months, maybe even a year, and I was like, I'm sure there are other podcasts out there that do similar things, but there's nothing that, to my knowledge, will taste a new beer every week, give it a rating, and then also just sit around and BS for like an hour. You know what I mean? All the beer podcasts that I've seen are like 10 to 15 minutes long, and they just taste the beer, rate it, and move on or whatever. I could be wrong. There could be other things out there that are doing exactly what I'm doing, but that was my vision, and I was like, what better time to start it than now? And I was playing games with one of the previous hosts, Andrew. If you listened way in the beginning, you would know who Andrew is. But we were playing some games, and I was like, dude, I've had this idea, and he was like, let's do it, bro. Let's stop. Like, we got nothing else going on. We can't go do anything during, like, let's just do it. Let's pick a night during the week and do it. And so that's what we did. And
so the cat, like, even though the idea was out there, the catalyst ultimately was because why not? I think a lot of good things come out of that when you ask yourself, like, why not? Like,
yeah,
we've already had the idea, but now there's legitimately nothing holding us back. Like, we don't have a reason to say no. I'm sure you were coming up with reasons to say no up until that point, and then you were like, you know what? I can't say no anymore.
pretty much. I mean, for the most part, it was like, who am I going to do it with, Because I'm not going to be able to just sit here and talk about a beer for an hour by my. I mean, I think I've made that pretty
Right.
clear. I'm not a very long-winded talker. I pretty much add my comments and go along with the flow, but I
I'm the
can't. I definitely
opposite.
couldn't do it by myself. And
Who am
so,
I? Who am I going
yeah,
to build ramps for now? Who am I going to build ramps for now? But
it's my
uh,
hat. It's totally my hat.
This is totally my hat. But I am gonna. So I want to make a comment on that in a second because we're gonna dive a little deeper into some additional questions. But so the COVID basically removed the veil of excuses, gave people it was the catalyst for people to really get on board, or just say, that like you're right, we should try it. I think at that time everybody's like, the world's going to shit anyways. Like, I'm gonna live my dreams from the safety of my own home. But no,
Yeah.
so started there midway through COVID, right?
Yeah,
And
give or
then
take.
give or take, and then it basically stayed fairly strong until the world started coming back up online, or
Pretty
even
much.
afterwards. Or really,
Pretty
okay,
much the world came back online and well, people graduating, getting married, moving. I think it's what really
life.
yeah, life just kind of got in the way more than anything. And it is what it is. But then we took the hiatus for a year and a half or whatever it was. And
Was
then
that, yeah, it seems like, because I can't. I was trying to think back, and my counter is at 69.
yeah.
So I think I might have screwed up there, but 69 or 70 ish is where my counter is. So, but yeah, when did we start back the second go round? I feel like we should have looked this up, but
We
fuck
started
it, we'll do it
so
live.
but well, I guess yeah, I guess we started originally a little later than I thought because I think both times we started around October because
Oh,
we
so
started with Oktoberfest.
oh yeah, both times.
Yeah, I think so. And so whenever you joined us, or
Hmm.
me, whenever you joined me,
Whenever you joined us, as in me, myself, and the mouse in my pocket. But
yeah,
yeah,
uh, yeah, we started with Oktoberfest. I'm pretty sure, very close to it, and so it's been almost 2 years, which is kind
yeah,
of
it
crazy.
has. So I'm trying to think of my first episode. Uh,
Well,
yeah, my first episode was 10/14/2022.
we're coming up on it.
Yeah.
It was yeah, and it would have
So
been Oktoberfest beers, right? Pretty sure.
yeah, episode one was 10/30/2020.
Yeah,
Okay, so you were right on that one. And then the second season, if you will, was exactly 2 years later, basically by 2 days or 6 days, excuse me.
it's crazy, and we only did like 36 episodes. But
Hey,
in
man,
the first season. But
we
that's what we
we've
do.
had some patches as of late that were kind of tough. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, it just gets rough, man. I hate not being able to do it every week. But I'll tell you what, I don't know if it's just me, but drinking 2 beers every week is cumbersome on my body sometimes.
yeah, I
Especially when
mean,
we start getting into like the IPAs and the stouts and stuff. Like I know that there's a lot of people out there that probably do more every weekend. You know what I mean? Um, in a
for
healthy way.
sure.
I'm not talking about, super unhealthy people, but you go to a brewery probably every Saturday or every Friday night for your bingo or your game nights or whatever, and you drink like 3 or 4 beers probably. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, sometimes I find it hard to in the middle of the week to be like, man, whew, do I really want to throw down 2 Brewhaws right now?
Listen, I think it. I know this is gonna sound bad and make me sound like a terrible person, but I, if it were something like a Miller Lite or a Keystone or whatever, I just feel like I could murder like 20 of those, and I'm not gonna feel great. I'm gonna feel terrible. Okay, but I
Yeah.
feel like sometimes the way these are set up, you kill like two or three of them, and they carry the burden of like a 12 pack of Bush
Well, sometimes
sometimes.
I don't know. For me, it's just like, I don't know. I love drinking beer still. I really do, and I love the flavor of it. I love everything about it. It's just like sometimes now I'm like, oh man, I think it's really because like for weekends where I plan that I'm gonna drink, right? Where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go have a few beers, or like I'm gonna go out and have a couple of old fashions or something.
Yeah.
Like, do I also want to throw in 2 beers in the middle of the week on that equation? You know what I mean?
You know what it is for me? I've said this a million times, and we did this when I think, was it last November or 2 Novembers ago when we did the Was it
Oh, the no
Sober October or No Beer November? I don't
sober
remember.
September, I think, or something.
Sober September, one of them, right? Um, dude, I just love the taste of beer. I
Yeah.
actually, we give all of our good ideas away, but I think, and we might have talked about this before, but dude, I want a seltzer, a non-alcoholic seltzer, 0 cal, beer flavored.
Beer flavored seltzer. Did you
Like,
say that last year?
I don't know, but it's been coming across my mind a lot. And I pitched it to somebody the other day, and they were like, "Why don't you just drink a beer?" And immediately I was like, "Because I've got shit to do today, and I also don't want to feel bloated. My knees hurt a little bit, my lower back, and I'm usually a little cranky in the morning afterwards."
Ah,
So all of those things get eliminated, and I'm completely refreshed, and it's crisp, and it's a non-alcoholic beer seltzer. It's basically freaking LaCroix beer flavored.
I mean, I'd want a little bit more flavoring than a LaCroix, though.
Well, obviously, it's the Topo Chico Bush is what that is what I'm
Okay.
going to call that.
It's the
Topo
Bush
Chico
Chico.
instead of Bush, it's a Topo Chico, but instead of grapefruit, it's just hops.
It's just hops.
Dude,
See,
I'm
now
just
that I
telling
could
you.
get behind that. Don't they? A lot of places make like hop water. Have you like? And I think that's what
I
it is.
probably, as long as it's, yeah, maybe that is a thing. But I mean, if we're not canning that yet and selling it to freaking
I mean, I
the
think people
Utes,
are. I think. Wait, the Ute. I don't know if Utes can buy it or not. I'm not sure about that.
why not if it's non-alcoholic?
Well, I don't know. It's kind of like those like it's kind of like one of those stipulations where they're like, well, we don't really want. It's kind of like a gateway thing for kids. You know what I mean? That kind of
You
thing,
can
maybe.
buy non-alcoholic beer.
Underage, you can buy non-alcoholic beer.
OOs, buddy. Yeah. You couldn't
Really?
for yeah. You couldn't for years and years because of they were all 0.5.
Wow, I did not know that. This is news to me.
Well, it's neither here nor there, honestly. Listen, I kind of went a little hard in the paint there. I'm not even sure about that, but I think that that's right.
Okay,
Anyways,
you
it's fucking irrelevant here,
so
okay?
confident,
There's
so
no
confident in that.
reason there's no reason right now that a child, an adolescent, a teenager couldn't buy a beer flavored seltzer water, LaCroix, Topo Chico.
Yeah, Waterloo, if you're in the Austin or Texas area.
There you go. There you go. I'm just saying it's a good idea because back to the point I was trying to make. I love the taste of beer. I would do it all day. Obviously, I can't, but I would enjoy it as a beverage if it didn't make me feel bloated, upset my tummy every now and then. Not agree with my attitudes and my mobility, my flexibility in the
Yeah.
mornings. Um, and it used to be, when I was younger, it was like, you'd wake up and you'd be like, oh, I definitely drank a case of beer last night. Like, you know what I mean? And now I'm like, oh, I definitely drank one beer last
Oh
night. You know what I
God,
mean?
we definitely recorded the podcast last night.
Exactly. So that's why
Yeah.
I want the. But anyways, I just love. I don't like the side effects of one beer, 30 beers. I don't like the side effects of like how I'm achy. It's like pre-flu, post-flu kind of thing.
Yeah, I also last year when we did the non-alcoholics, I also didn't like the side effects of the Guinness non-alcoholic because it almost made me throw up because it was
Well,
horrible.
okay, so that brings me to my next. I mean, so I want to take again, take it well real quickly. Again, I'm gonna pull a Chevy Chase. We're gonna take a look back at the last 2.5 years, 3 years, for almost four now. We're gonna take a look back at the last 4 years of Off the Tap. All right, so moving on to our next question. No, for 19, so I'm telling you, dude, the OG Chevy Chase, the OG Weekend Update, he was just genius, right? He's the one that put a Weekend Update on the map, and they did that in New Year's of '79, I believe it was 76 or '79. He was like, we're gonna take a brief look back at 1979, and they literally just had a poster on the wall that said 1979, and he looked back at it, and then he just went back to doing the regular updates, and I thought this is how we know this show is going to continue to make it. Like,
Yeah.
this is how we know. Obviously, I wasn't there when it happened, but I've seen it. We had the collection on video cassette or video VHS. Anyway, neither here nor there. But taking kind of like a peek back. So I had a few questions. Obviously, the beginnings and going through the recording, and obviously you taught yourself a lot of stuff along the way, right? You had to. I mean, honestly, of all the things that you've learned from this experience, not a whole lot more about beer, but
No, yeah.
but
Yeah, no, I know. It's funny because every time I go anywhere with anybody that knows I do the podcast, right?
oh yeah,
Or like or if I'm with my dad and we're like with some of his friends or whatever, he'll be like, "Well, ask Randall, he's the beer guy." And I'm like, "Dude, I know jack shit about beer. I don't know
Mhm.
anything about beer. The only thing I know is what I like and maybe what to expect from some kind of beers, but like how many goses have we had and we still can't pronounce it right? You know what I
Or
mean?
not can't really put a finger on exactly what it is still because
Yeah,
the ones
still
we've
not
had
really
are
sure.
all
Is it a
fucking off the rails.
sour? What kind of is it? We don't really understand. And then it's like, I don't know. It's just funny to me because everyone's like, well, what do you think I should get? What do you think I would like? And I'm like, I don't, what, like that first of all, that's putting a lot of pressure on me because now I feel like you have to like it. And then two, dude, I don't know.
Well, the other thing too is if there's anything we've learned along the way, and we're not out of the woods on this question, by the way, but if there's anything that we've learned along the way, it's the fact that like even within one particular, like a ghost for a ghost say whatever, even within that genre of beer, we've had very successful examples, and then we've had ones that were like, "What the fuck is this?" So
Yeah.
I think when people ask me again, I get asked the same question. They're like, "Oh, well, you're the beer guy. You should know." What does this say? Are these Mediterranean hops that they've roasted in here? I'm like, bro, I have no fucking clue. Okay,
I couldn't even tell you the difference between a hop right now.
and so there's like basic guidance you can give. Like obviously, stouts are not approachable by everyone. Like that's
Yeah.
a given. Wheats are going to be a little bit sweeter, but like I can't tell you that you're going to hate sweets because I mean hate wheat because I don't like wheat because of the attributes, even though you share my same taste. Like you got to try them, anyways. But
Right.
so there's a lot of things that you've learned along the way, obviously. And then but not as much about beer. But so there's a ton of questions I could jump into. Obviously, the easiest one is of all, if you could remember back, and we joked, I think it was last week or maybe the week before about the spreadsheet. I think it was last week, right? About the spreadsheet of
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
and how Microsoft almost fucked us. But yeah, so if you could look back now, it doesn't have to be on pod beers, but is there an example? Just because obviously this is a vessel to expose you to the most, is there one particular beer that sticks out as being the worst that we all know mine, which was very recent, but what is yours if you can
Oh,
remember?
I mean mine but so I actually started scrolling through because I had a feeling this was the question you were going to ask. And obviously I mentioned the non-alcoholic Guinness, which was
Yeah, it
horrible.
was bad.
But all of the other not in case you never listened to that episode or those episodes never got around to them, all the other non-alcoholics were very good that we
Very good.
had. That one was horrible. It's not good. But no, I think by far that I've done on the podcast here, uh, which was the first Gosa that we did,
Oh, really?
Gosa. Yeah, the jelly bean ghost, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, horrible, miserable experience. I
It's
hated it.
okay. So that one beats the milk stout.
It does. It does because here's the thing. So yes, very early on we did and this was before we did like scores like we did now, but very early on when it was me and Sean and Andrew, uh, we did the Dragon's Milk White. Uh, Miserable experience also, but the difference was I could finish them. Like
Okay.
I could power through and it wasn't like I didn't want to throw up. You know what I mean? Like would I buy it again? No. I would probably not finish them. There's a good chance I wouldn't finish the whole six pack, but Yeah, the jelly bean ghost was horrible, dude. It was
I
miserable.
I remember it being pretty bad, but maybe I only had one of them. We normally don't. It's not like we're crushing them. Some of them I almost wish there's some of them earlier on. Earlier on, there were ones where I was like, man, I could do a fourth or so.
Yeah.
Not as much as of late, and maybe it's just because we're doing more talking. We've settled in, but like very early on, there was a time where I was like, I could do six of these bad boys in an hour.
Right.
Um, the ghosts, I don't remember. I obviously they didn't fridge sit. I don't know how I ranked them with that, but
I mean,
yeah.
you ranked it worse than I did. So,
Okay, so that's great, but like it puts it in perspective because like that one didn't even cross my mind when I think about like Cool in the Gang, which was so recent that like it's still burned within me. But like
yeah.
Cool in the Gang by Blue Owl, fuck no. I must have it okay, 12 times what is that? 36?
Yeah.
Okay, I had
What?
36 ounces to consume because I had three cans,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Yeah.
I threw away 34,
Yeah.
probably.
That's crazy.
It was by far the where I actually have one. I still have the one can, the tester can that you're supposed to taste.
Yeah, I forgot to last time.
But yeah, but easily. So that was a very easy question. The next couple ones are more important to me probably than listeners, but I think we might as well. One is, what is something that still intrigues you about doing it? Or what is something you still enjoy or that still lights the fire or that still motivates you or that still um that still makes you enjoy the process, the planning, the all the things. Because I don't want to give you my answer. Well, like, answer the question.
Well, I love the creativity of it.
Okay.
Okay. I realize that our audience isn't massive. Um, but I love create not even necessarily this content, like us talking and drinking the beers and rating them and whatnot, but like doing all the graphics and stuff for social media.
Hmm.
And I love doing yeah, I love doing like the graphic design part of it because it's, when something pops into my head and I'm like, "Ooh, that could look cool." I can change it cuz it's mine. I just do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I like that part of it. But like as far as each week doing it, I think it's just like a reason to get together and do something, you know?
Yeah. I'm so I asked the question because when I thought of the question immediately, I was like, it's not a beer, really. I could give a shit. I mean, I'm thankful that we tried different ones, and like I can look. It's crazy if you notice when we this time around when we did a beer haul, and we went in and we were looking at things to get. There were so many we were like, oh yeah, we've done that one, or oh we've done that one
Yeah.
of this one, or oh well you know what, we've already done like 4 or 5 Allstats, or I always joke
Yeah.
about Lucky, right? But we've done a bunch of we got to stay with. So we are broadening our coverage or what we've experienced. Um,
Yeah.
Thankfully, we live in an area where it probably we won't ever run into a problem with not being able to have new supply. But
Yeah.
um, but to me, it's not the beer either. And honestly, thankfully, by some obviously stroke of luck and or agreement and or maybe I said this from the beginning, I don't do any of the editing. I don't do any of the social media. I don't do anything but show up and just drink beer and talk. So that doesn't intrigue me at all. But the thing that I thought of in my mind, if I was being asked that question, was um every now and then, right? Because we've told everyone, right? Like we kind of pre-talk about some topics up front, things that we want to include, have a rough outline of things, or we
Yeah.
try to find things that relate to the beer. Obviously, everyone knows we're fucking terrible at that. We try to have stats about the beer and things, we're terrible at that. Um, but I think we do justice to the beer at the end when we talk about what we'd be doing and what and the ratings and things like that. But the
Right.
thing that intrigues me the most is how in conversation, and obviously that doesn't happen unless we're doing this, but in conversation, something will happen that will spark, and not a tangent, but something will spark. And sometimes they're tangents, but something will spark in our head an idea. And whether it is funny or whether it's sincere or whether we're on a soapbox because we're bitching about something, there's a bunch of this like it's almost like a motor that's like running pretty shitty. It's like in a good way. There's like a spark, and then boom, you gain like some momentum, and your battery gets charged. And then there's another spark, and the conversation just kind of flows back and forth, and it keeps us motivated to not top one another, but to like take each other down a different pathway, I guess. And
Yeah.
so that to me is the most intriguing. The beer I could do, I mean, especially if it's a fucking whatever cool in the gang.
Cool in the
A
game.
lot of the beers, I could do without, but they're just a vessel to like spark conversation. Now, on the flip side of that, um, what is something that you wish was different, or that you wish that
Oh, dude.
maybe we did? Go ahead.
I wish we could figure out how to get this done in person, man. Like
Oh yeah, okay.
that and not only I I've said before, and I think we both said before that like a goal is to do stuff at breweries, right? Like go to
Hmm.
breweries and record. We just haven't been able to get around to doing that. But I mean, it's something that I just think would be fun and it'd be better. But unfortunately, I know nothing about audio, so I don't know how to do in-person stuff, especially on like one going into one computer. I don't know how to do all that. And like I feel like doing that on the fly in person for me to like get up and look at a computer and figure it out is just gonna it's incredibly difficult. And like, I feel like we would need somebody to like be an audio tech guy there, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we've talked about it, and all of my experience is very old school audio, like just analog board audio, live band audio, but like shitty house setup band
Yeah.
audio. So I don't have the experience of running through, digital boards and stuff like that. So yeah, that's something. And I will say, of all the things that I don't like that you do for us, right? Like the editing and the graphics and
Yeah.
the social and all of that. I would be interested in that, understanding like live audio for the sake of producing this. Like, do I want to edit it afterwards and tie it to video? Fuck no. But doing it real time, that would be something of a learning experience that would intrigue me. Um, for me, so your answer was significantly better than what I prepared, because that is a lot more important. Because that I think that would be a growth for both of us, and it would be a growth for the content, it would be a growth for the brand, it would be a growth for just, everything. But but for me, it's a double-edged sword. Like, we can easily talk for an hour if there are no guardrails around talking about food or music, right?
Yeah.
And I know, and this is terrible, because it's not all terrible content, but I feel like, especially over the past, and this is crazy to say out loud, but I would say especially over the past 30 episodes, which is crazy if you think about it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you've been here for all 100, but for me, over the past 30 episodes, I feel like even if we prepare content, we just have this way of falling into this rut. It's a healthy rut, but falling into this rut of, I bet you this would pair with a fucking great cold cut. And you're like, oh, you know what I love about cold cuts? And then 40 minutes later, we're like, well, all right, let's get into ratings. No,
That
like,
is
so I
true.
just, and again, it's just the nature of us. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, because it's a double edged sword. Like, we can have some pretty fueled, passionate conversations about music and about food. But I feel like sometimes we need to get better at channeling content to kind of stay out of those ruts.
Right. This is why we
Um,
always have to plan like topic dump episodes,
yes.
because because we do all these topics and then we just wind up going off the rails and talking about other things, which is kind of nice for what you're saying. We do get some good content, we do get some good laughs and whatnot, and then it gives us like a backlog of other things to talk about. But it is a little it's a good thing we don't plan. You know what I mean? Because
Well,
like if I planned out a bunch of things to talk about topic wise and then we just didn't talk about them, I'd probably get pissed off.
So that's what I was gonna say. Like when we do the clear the slate, I know we've only done one, but we've got to do another one here pretty soon. But when we do a clear the slate, it is very mentally refreshing to me
Yeah.
because what happens is this, and everybody does it. It's not just us. I this is a I will charge anyone that's out there in the real world right now. There are so many random thought unless you're like I don't know. There's like a percentage of people that don't have an inner voice or some shit like that. I think we
Yeah,
talked
which
about.
is wild to
It's
me.
fucking
I
weird.
don't.
But anyway, but every other human being, even if you're focused on doing a task at work or if you're in a stressful situation where all of your brain power is used for something or whether you're relaxing, there are so many, I'm not going to call them intrusive, but there's just so many random fucking thoughts that
Yeah.
just very quickly flow in and out of your mind. And I'm not going to say that we remember all of ours. I try to do a good job of writing them down. And there's some, like Twitty's hair, that will haunt me over and over. But there's a lot of them that don't. They just, for a split second, they come into my mind and I will never, ever think them again, ever.
Yeah.
And if I don't in that moment say, oh, I should think about that again or mention that to somebody, then they're gone forever. And I probably miss a million opportunities. But the ones that we do write down are the ones that sometimes you can't talk 5 minutes about them because you're just like, this is it. You
Yeah.
know,
That was the thought. That was it.
that was it. And yep, moving on. So, anyways, so that was just a question that I had, and just because of that, one last question. I would say, you didn't expect to. I know that you didn't set out with a. I guess for everyone, I want everyone to know that like it wasn't like you set out to be a Rogan, right? Like
No.
right, it wasn't like you set out to
No.
say I'm going to try, and it wasn't even with one particular approach either. Like I'm going to try every Texas made beer. Are we doing a pretty good job of it? Yes, but are we there? No. Will we ever be? Probably not.
No.
But that wasn't the mission. It was just get the boys together, keep the camaraderie, keep the juices flowing, enjoy some beverages. Also find out more about them, right? Because one thing, I have buddies that I've drank way too many beers with. But then later on, and then we've obviously grown apart a little bit and then stayed together. And we'll go out to have a beer and I'm like, oh hell yeah, they've got this on tap. And they're like, what? And I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
the fuck do you mean? What? It's a delicious beer. And they're like, no, no, I don't do that. And I'm like, who have you become? What
Yeah.
have you become? Right. So you learn a lot about a person by indulging in ghosts and cooling the gangs. But anyways, all that being said, it was never set out with this mission to build this massive empire. However, what would be what do you think? What do we take this to? What are your thoughts moving? Everybody hates to get asked this question. What's next? What's
What's
next?
next? What's next? Dude, I have no idea. I do know that I just want to keep doing it until it's no longer fun for me. That's the thing.
Okay.
Once it becomes not fun, I'm not gonna want to do it anymore. So
Gotcha.
I don't care if there's one person listening every week or if there's 5 million people listening every week. I really don't care what it does as long as I'm having fun doing it. Um, so that's what I want to do. I want to keep going. Now I would love for it to get a little bit bigger, and have some more fun on the social medias and stuff. Do some more like some merch drop type stuff and whatnot. But it is what it is. I design a lot of things that never come to fruition because there's just not a lot going on the back end, or I guess on the front end, on the public side. So I got a lot of things cooking up in my brain that I just waste hours and hours designing that just never really happen. So I
Well,
would
that's
like for
better.
those things to happen.
It's better than the storage in mine. It's just like, hey, do you think birds are envious that we can't that we walk? Just like random, I don't know, because we just all the time we're like we fly, we just want to be birds, we want to fly, and I'm sure they just want to walk. Anyways, it's really a moot point. We can move past that, but I'm I just I don't. The reason I asked the question is because like you mentioned right off the bat, I wasn't expecting you right off the bat to be like I did not think we'd make it to 100.
Yeah, no,
Um,
I didn't.
It goes sometimes it goes slow, sometimes it goes fast. Because I look back and go, man, it's almost 70 episodes. It doesn't feel like, and there's at least 1 or 2 weeks in between each one, right? We've
Yeah.
taken some hiatuses as well for seasonality. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
It is crazy to think about. I mean, I've been doing this for 4 years now, over 4 years, or no, almost 4 years.
yeah.
I've been at least messing with something related to this, and it's crazy
I've
to think
got
about.
I got one more question because people ask me all the time, and I know that I ask you. So people ask me all the time. They're like, "Oh, it since you podcast, do you listen to any podcasts?" And I'm still a religious. I sometimes I'll listen to ours, and it's mainly for like content quality or audio quality or
Yeah.
edits or stuff like that. But most of the time, I am listening to other ones, and I travel a lot, as well. But where do you even listen to podcast outside of our work and the editing and all that? And even once it posts, do you even listen to podcasts?
I used to listen to a lot more than I do now. I am not to if I drove by myself, I would listen to a lot more podcasts.
Gotcha.
Um, but I don't really find myself having a lot of time to listen to a podcast. And I say that, but I listen to a lot of like live things. Like I watch a lot of live streams. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like in the background while I'm doing stuff. But that's because I don't really pay attention to the whole thing. And I, when I consume content, I'm like this with my TV shows too. Like there's some shows that I can throw on in the background and I don't really care about and they're just background audio. But then there's some that I want to listen to and like or like actually watch, you know what I mean? And I feel like podcasts are like that for me. Like if I'm going to listen to a podcast, I'm going to listen to it. And I want to be like I want to retain things. Not necessarily retain things, but I want to like remember them, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um and so I feel like I just don't really have a lot of time based on my other hobbies and tasks that I need to do to like throw a podcast on in the background just for sound.
I
Um,
I
so
feel like
no, I
there's
don't listen to a lot anymore. I did before, ironically, before I started doing the podcast. This one, I listened to a couple, mainly comedy stuff, but not so much anymore now.
I agree. It's kind of like well, first off, I put my podcast into a couple of buckets. There's those where you're right. You do have to fully be dedicated. Now you could be driving, but alone, obviously,
Yeah.
with no one else in the car, especially children. Fuck, you can't even listen to the radio with them. You, but so you got to be isolated. Planes. I think a podcast with it's a earbud thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got to be in your own world. Now, obviously, you can be preoccupied with your earbuds in too. Um, but I break them into chunks. There's like those that you're right. You got to be in tune to. You got to stay with, and then there's ones that like I really don't, and I'm not saying that ours is the latter, but like, man, I don't need all the context and all the content. I'll hear a funny thing every now and then and go, what the fuck? And then I'll back it up and I'm like, okay, I see what he's saying.
Yeah.
Right. So, but it just really depends, right? It's kind of like having stuff on in the background. There's some shows that you're just like, damn it, I can't put that on because I'm not going to be able to work, or I can't put that on because I'm not going to be able to eat or focus because it's that good. And then there's
Yeah.
some stuff where you're like, yeah, I'll let 4 or 5 episodes play through. Fuck it. I don't care. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, so I'm in the same exact boat, but I do find that it takes the. I used to hate driving. I think you know that. Just my whole life, I've always hated driving. And it's not a fear thing. It's not a scare thing. It's just the monotony of it. It's just miserable. And then obviously doing what I do now for a living, I find I don't as much anymore. But for a period of time, I found myself driving long distances all the time. And so I fell in love with the concept of a podcast because it can turn 4 hours into almost 30 minutes by feel. You know what I mean?
Or like, or it turns 4 hours into 3 episodes. You know, that's how
Exactly.
you think about it. You'll be like,
Yeah.
oh crap, I got to drive to Dallas. Well, I'll knock out 3 episodes of yada yada.
it's the cigarette of the non-smoking traveler. I would make decisions. I would literally be like, oh, okay, there's 40 minutes left in this episode. All right, cool. I'll stop right at the 40-minute mark, and then I'll grab me something to eat. I'll download the next one only because sometimes in East Texas, especially, you get into some shitty ass
Yeah,
service areas.
you gotta
So
download them
at the gas station, I'll download gas. At the gas station,
at
I'll
the gas
download another one,
station.
and that'll get me another hour and 30 minutes or whatever to the next place. So yeah, they kind of were a crutch for a period of time. I don't listen as much as I used to. Also, you got to be mindful too. I think we talked about this maybe off pod, but we have wholesome enough. Obviously, language and context is not all that great, but at the end of the day, I think our content is consumable by a large group of population. I don't know, man. I love murder mystery and like terrible things that are true stories. But like when you saturate yourself with that, dude, I get like not in a good headspace. Not like depression or
Oh
anything, but
yeah,
I just, you know what I'm talking about?
yeah.
Have you ever done that? Like I used to drive, last comment on this, but I used to drive like 60 miles one way to work.
Mm.
And I would, so dude, plus traffic. Oh, fucking, you're gonna be blown out of your shoes when we get into ratings. But 60 miles one way, and I would listen to podcasts, and I would just listen to, and it's great content, dude. Dude makes real good quality content. But dude, just like terrible people being terrible to people for 1 2 episodes a day, six
Yeah,
days a week, dude. You know what that does to the inside of your brain?
yeah,
It makes you kind of numb to like things that aren't okay, you
yeah.
know?
It
And
does.
that's not okay.
It's not okay. That's kind of how I feel about like watching like murder shows all the time. You know what I
Mm,
mean? No, no, listen, you gotta
murder
mix it
shows are a
up,
little bit
brother.
different.
No, you gotta mix it up. You gotta throw in some ridiculousness and
I
some stupid stuff every now and then.
I hear you out, but I find myself doing this more often than not, which is not healthy either. You'll start watching a crime show and like 20 minutes in, you're like, what a fucking idiot. He didn't he
Yeah.
didn't he didn't freaking grind the serial numbers off the gun. Everybody knows. You know what I mean? Like just terrible things. And like obviously you need to soak the body in a high pH. People always
Yeah.
think it needs to be an acid, but it's got to be a base because that base is going to make everything jelly. And
These
then
are
the
not
jelly,
things that we should be saying.
exactly. And if the pieces are small enough, once they're jelly because of the high
Dude.
concentration, as soon as they get into the river system, gone, dude. You can't non-traceable barriers cannot be poly. You need something that's going to be metal so that obviously, you can passivate it. There's some acid breakdown. Like I'm just saying, that's what happens with those shows. Is that appropriate? Absolutely not, because obviously it's manipulated my brain to know those things. But I find them more of a challenge rather than a demotivator or a depressive content.
I guess, man. I don't know. I don't know. I podcast wise, I consumed mainly comedy stuff.
Okay.
Also, a lot of people ask me like, "Oh, so is your podcast like a comedy thing?" No, this was never meant to be just funny all the time. This is
Yeah,
just getting together and talking about whatever the hell we talk about for an hour. You know what I mean? Which I guess can throw an audience off every now and then, but like I don't care. I like doing it. It's my thing. That's what I'm gonna do.
that I struggle. I struggled with that very early on because obviously I like to joke. I like to have a good time. And it's
Yeah.
easy to do that. I'm not saying,
Oh yeah, no,
um,
I love laughing. That's fine. I
but
don't have a problem with it.
but I struggled with that very early on when we would pre-plan or when we would do things. I think we got to a point where, not in a bad way, but we just got to a point where we were pre-planning, and I was like, "Hey, man, I don't really have any content," and you were like, "Well, you don't have any funny content, but that's okay. You have other things."
Yeah.
And I was like, I do. And obviously they come out soft-hearted, right? Or they come out, in a good light. But yeah, I struggled with that. I was like, "Hey, we don't have anything to be funny every single week." And you were like, "Who said we have to be funny?" And I was like, "I don't know. I thought we were supposed to be being funny." And you were like,
No.
"No, we don't have to be funny." And I was like, "Oh shit."
I can't be
And
funny
it
24/7, dude. No shot.
and then it flipped the switch, but I don't think it flipped the switch in the fact that I was like I gave up on being funny, but it definitely took a lot of like the stress off of trying to be funny, which then in turn begets funniness because you're just like, fuck it, we're just out here living it. We're doing it live.
We're
Like,
doing it.
so anyway, but
Run it through the
yeah,
card.
I run it through the garden. But I just, yeah, for some reason I just had it pre-programmed, and it's not, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, mix it up. Whatever. Who cares? You know what I mean? Who cares? Um, I have one question I guess we could do real quick. Is there a moment? Because there's a moment that's one of my favorite moments that I've had. Actually, I have two of them on the podcast. One pre-Stefan, one post-Stefan. Okay, or during Stefan, I guess. Whatever. Is there a moment that you find either the funniest or the best that you've gone through on this journey?
I I I that's a tough one for me because I'll be honest with you, and this is sad, but as we're going through the episode, unless I've gone back and listened to it, no.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I forget because we're the same way even off pod, right? Like we just joke about things and we are serious about things. We'll get heated about certain things, but and I'm not saying that I don't remember them. Like I'll remember that you have a hard stance about, using Google Maps through the fucking speakers in the car or
Yeah.
whatever. Or the other things, right? That's an inside joke. But you have these hard stances, but I don't remember all of like how what led us to the discovery of that. So my short answer is I don't have one in particular, but it's because I don't always get to enjoy all of the content as we're creating it. I can go back and probably find it and laugh hard.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. My moment new era with you here was most certainly the episode that we were talking about you at the Chinese buffet.
Yeah.
Oh man, what an incredible story that was. If you don't know that one, good luck finding it. I don't know what episode it was,
I have
but
no idea.
there's a clip out there somewhere on Instagram. You have to go find it. It's one of the funniest stories I think I've uh ever listened to. Um the one pre Stefan at the beginning was, I don't remember what episode it was, but it was the New Belgium Fat Tire beer episode.
Oh, I love that
And
tire.
yeah, we were talking about some topics on that one, and we were talking about, you remember back in the day when you were a kid in well, I mean, we didn't grow up in like a neighborhood, but when you had like kids around and you would go on your bicycle, and like if your buddy had pegs on the front, someone would ride
Oh
on the
yeah.
front on the pegs.
Yeah.
We started to describe that as pegging. So
That is not
and
that like
obviously
when you were
obviously
kids or during the episode
no, no,
because I
no,
would
during the
assume okay.
episode. During the episode, we
Okay.
we we referred to it as pegging. Also, this is a clip on the Instagram if you want to go back and listen to it. Not as well edited, but just great times. Those are the kind of things that I like to remember and think about. So good laughs on this is what I've been getting through these 100 episodes, and I'm thankful for it.
Yeah, are you doing the clip still or have you
We will be. I'm back on it.
Okay.
I'm back on it now. I was extremely busy for the summer, so I didn't really make time to do it selfishly, kind of. But yeah, I'll be back and doing it again.
Cuz
Doing
I
it
do
again here
feel
soon.
cuz I do feel like a lot of people would hit me up on those and be like, "Hey, um I went and checked out this or whatever because of that." So yeah, that was cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've gotten to that point in the pod where it's time to do the WWYBDs, and I'm gonna force you to go first this time.
Okay, this is gonna come off real, not okay. But this is like a this is a roadie.
Okay.
This is a roadie beer. Like if you're, but if you're going to somewhere where you're gonna end up, this sounds very inappropriate. Let's say you're leaving your butt, like where we grew up, right? You're leaving our house and you're going to like a pasture off of 150.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not the safest thing because drinking and driving is always frowned upon.
Frowned upon.
But you're just gonna like sleep out in that field somewhere. You know what I
Frowned
mean?
upon and illegal. We should say that.
Yes, frowned upon and illegal. But yeah, this is like a hey, we're running out to such and such's pasture. We're gonna chill out there, light us a fire. Maybe it's not cold yet, but it's comfortable enough to sleep outside, maybe in the bed of your truck or something like that.
Okay.
Pasture party kind of, but like I'm grown, so not gonna do that as much. But yeah, this is the one that I would take from the house and enjoy on the way if somebody else were driving my vehicle for
Okay.
legal reasons.
For legal reasons. You're in the back.
Yes.
Which still you shouldn't drink in the back. You can't have open containers in there
What
anyways.
about if I'm riding in the back of the truck?
You can't. And well, oh yeah, no, I don't know. Is right
That's
I is riding in the bed of a truck legal?
I think so, as long as you're over the age of 18. That's what our parents always told us, but I don't know if you can use their guidance.
Yeah, well, we also rode in the back of the truck way under the age of 18.
Yes.
So I don't know how to
You
take
just got to
that one.
stay. Remember, you just have to stay below the.
Yeah.
They would just be like, "Hey, just duck down to where like you're below, so they can't see."
Yeah, so they don't see. Then it's
Yeah,
legal.
then
Yeah.
it's legal.
Um,
Um,
this to me is a lawn chair in the lawn beer.
okay.
In the lawn or like the driveway. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um, football season, but not fall yet,
Okay.
if that makes sense. So like end of August, right at the beginning of September, right at
Ooh,
the
but
beginning of football
that's a little
season.
toasty to be in a
It's
lawn chair, isn't it?
it's still hot. Yeah. It's not the
Okay.
most comfortable to be out there, but it's not comfortable weather to be like because when I think football season, I'm thinking like Oktoberfest, right?
Yeah, I feel you.
So this is like before that. This is like my pre-fall beer, basically. But I'm outside in the yard for however long I can take it. So
Okay.
that's where I'm
Um,
at.
just real quick as a touch base, I am just blown away at the fact that our parents were half-ass correct.
Oh,
Just because in 9 times, listen, nothing against them, but like they weren't all that accurate normally with things, and so you can ride in the bed of a truck in Texas if you are an illegal adult. If you are a legal adult,
okay.
however, it's illegal to transport a minor in the open bed of a pickup truck or on an open flatbed trailer. Okay.
Okay.
However,
It should be illegal for anybody to be on a flatbed.
nope, as long as you're a legal adult. Here's the one that's the kicker for me. A driver who breaks this law can receive a misdemeanor charge, which is that's like a speeding ticket if you think
Yeah.
about it. Or be charged with a fine up to $25. Bro, fucking like that's worth the risk. Like, what is it? Oh Jesus! I'm gonna turn this single cab pickup truck into a fucking minivan at
Yeah.
the cost of $75. Like, what? Oh God, yeah,
Oh man, that's good.
dude. So I mean, as long as they're an adult, yeah. So we did do a lot of illegal. For those that are from South Louisiana, it's called Kessinet. It's a Kess, Kess. It's a Kess. So we would do a lot of Kessinet as children. So that was definitely illegal. But I mean, $25 a head at times. What are you gonna be? We're gonna be out like $100 maybe,
Yeah, whatever. It was
give or
probably
take.
cheaper then too.
Yeah. So all right, back to
Yeah.
ratings.
I can
Are
swing
you
that one
good?
first.
Go ahead, double down.
Um, this is a pretty standard middle of the road beer for me for the most part. On the not middle, but like pretty much right there. Entry and aftertaste, I have a 4 and a 4. I think it's solid. I think it doesn't change, doesn't get better, doesn't get worse. Body, I have a 4. Again, I cannot put my finger on what a Kolsch has tasted like before, so I'm kind of in the woods here, so to speak. Color, I have a 4 just because based off the descriptions of what they said and what we expected based on that. Bitterness, I have a 5. I think it's pretty solid bitterness wise. Not too bitter, not you know, not too bitter, but doesn't leave you wanting more. Acidity, I have a 4. Again, I think it's pretty right there. And fizz, fizz, I moved around a lot. Fizz, I have a 5. It popped up the scoreboard for me as we went on. So my total is a 30. Not a fridge sitter.
Yeah.
Very, very good. I would buy again. I would drink again. I would enjoy again. So yeah.
I'm gonna start there. I would buy again. I would drink again. It's not a fridge sitter. I would recommend it. But I do kind of agree with like the fact that it. I don't know if I would seek it out. Nothing against Altstadt. It's just like I would buy it again, but I don't like. There's certain beers where I wake up and I'm like, or not wake up, but like I find myself doing something.
Boy,
or
it's 7
I
a.m. I really
sure could rip through a fucking 12 of Heine's right now. But there's certain beers that I just crave because they're associated with something or because I just want them every now and then. You know what I mean? I don't know if this one's one of them. No, again, it's not an offensive thing. It's a great beer. I would buy it again. I would purchase it again. But I don't know if inside there's a compelling argument where I'm going to go, you know what taste is going to take care of my need right now? It's an Alstadt Kolsch. But on ratings, it comes in, it starts at a 3, it ends at a 3. Like it's what I expect in a Kolsch. I don't think it's necessarily above 3. Remember, is perfect. Is like the standard. Okay. Body, I do have a 4. It's got a little bit of a taste to it, and a little bit of I guess coating to it, as a little bit of a mouthfeel to it that I prefer over a regular Kolsch.
It does coat. Yeah.
Color, I have a 3. Here's the deal, bud. Had they not given me, clean, refreshing, light golden colored beverage, I might have just taken it for what it was. But it had a little bit of cloudiness to it. It was more of like a, mosquito water, if you will.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Oh.
We've all seen mosquito water.
You know what I'm talking about.
You know what I'm talking about. So color gets a 3. Bitterness, have it a 3. I think it meets the mark. Nothing more, nothing less. Acidity, I do have it a 2. But just because it fell slightly under, you and I differ there. But it falls a little under what I would be expecting from one. Now, fizz, here's the thing. Not just because it's the Centennial, okay? But for the first time almost ever that I can remember, I did change the score. It started out of the gate at a 5. It's a 6, my friends.
Ooh.
And here's why. I ate something that we frequently eat. So I know that I just know historically there's very little impact regardless of what I drink. Yeah. So we're not going to blame it on food. They came out bubbly enough, but not over bubbly. My chest wasn't full. I don't feel bloated. My tummy doesn't hurt, but they were repetitive enough and they were like refreshing. They were rewarding. Christoph Waltz, it's like a reward. Yeah. Like they were very, very much like that. So total comes in at 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 12, 16, 24.
We do live math on the spot.
I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry, bro. If you want me to use a calc, I can.
Yeah, I agree with the burps. The burps are pretty good. And very, very relieving, but yeah, didn't taste bad. You know what I mean? No, it was kind of like getting an extra little sip, as gross as that sounds. All right, well, we've gotten to that point in the podcast where I told you to go follow us on social media on Twitter and TikTok at Off the Tap Pod. and on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Off the Tap Podcast.
Grab a can. It's Alstadt and a bag of chips.